It began with a single line hidden in a classified document, but that one sentence stirred an entire nation. President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso received a 24-hour deadline. Deliver 90%. Control of his country's oil and gold. Signed. Sealed by Donald J. Trump, then President of the United States. Not a negotiation, but a firm demand. Hand over nearly all control of Burkina Faso's own resources, no discussion. Just a directive. That morning, a confidential message arrived. At dawn, delivered by a former U.S. military attaché and a team of private security experts. The instructions were clear. Allow U.S. corporations immediate access to key reserves and hand over energy management to an American-led board or face sanctions, trade embargoes, and internal disruption. But Traoré was not deterred. He convened his intelligence and military leaders. Tell them Burkina Faso is not for sale, he commanded. Within hours, the news spread across African media. Global attention was focusing on an unfolding power moment in West Africa. Meanwhile, Burkina Faso quietly moved ahead with plans laid months before secret geological surveys, discreet foreign collaborations, and precise strategic planning that revealed a country ready to control its own destiny. What Washington saw as control they feared to lose, Burkina Faso saw as sovereignty reclaimed. This was not just resistance. It was leadership defined by truth and self-reliance. At the strategic heart of the country, national forces secured oil fields, gold routes, and communication lines with foreign companies. Burkina Faso would speak through its own voice. At midday, state television aired a simple live address. Traoré in uniform, one hand on the national flag, the other holding a document marked Strategic Resource Directive. He spoke directly to his people and to those who had issued the ultimatum. An offer was made to exchange our resources and dignity for stability. You have misjudged us. This is not submission. This is defiance led by governance and integrity. He gave them their own 24-hour response. Leave African soil with your demands or watch your pressure fuel our resolve. By afternoon, the broadcast had sparked celebrations across the continent. But backrooms in boardrooms and intelligence agencies went into overdrive. Diplomats debated how to respond. Business executives called for immediate strategy shifts. Agencies tracked flights. They shifted from admiration to calculation, despite international concern. About aid withdrawal and projections of hardship, Burkina Faso experienced a nationwide rally. Engineers volunteered for resource defense. Student groups organized civic education on sovereignty. And citizens shared official coverage of their president's declaration with real pride. President Ibrahim Traoré had proven a point. Africa's future would not be leased. It would be led by its own people. And when the world watched, he didn't flinch. He stood calmly, but carried the belief of an independent nation. It all began with an encrypted document. A single sentence contained the entirety of Trump's demand. Burkina Faso must deliver 90% of its oil and gold reserves within 24 hours, signed by Trump himself. It wasn't diplomacy. It was an ultimatum. The unyielding response when the message landed, Traoré didn't hesitate. He convened his top generals and intelligence chiefs and issued a firm rebuttal. Burkina Faso is not for sale. Within hours, the demand circulated through African media, igniting global attention. But behind the scenes, Traoré was already several steps ahead, engaged in months-long resource mapping, energy surveys, and contingency planning. Burkina Faso was no longer vulnerable. It was sovereign. The AES Shield arises days later. 3 regional military leaders arrived. In Ouagadougou not as envoys, but as brothers in arms. Colonel Assimi Goïta from Mali General Abdourahmane from Niger, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya from Guinea. They entered the presidential palace together and emerged united with Traoré. Their chilling statement? If you touch Burkina Faso, you touch all of us. This was the birth of the AES Shield, Africa's new defense alliance. Mali sent oil field security advisors. Niger deployed desert logistics units. And Guinea opened its airspace for emergency assistance. Online, AES. Media streamed truth, exposing Western resource warfare with a rallying cry. Our resources. Our future. Our fight. From Bamako to Conakry, Chad to the Central African Republic, youth movements flourished. Murals of Traoré stood tall. T-shirts read, AES or death. The continent had galvanized behind one leader and a doctrine of mutual defense. Allies from east of the West amid Western outrage. Two global powers moved quietly but decisively. China, a delegation of engineers, landed without fanfare. Their offer: build an oil refinery in 90 days, install gold valuation systems, bypassing Western banks, deploy a digital trade platform that skips both the CFA franc and the dollar suddenly. Burkina controlled its production and its wealth end to end. Russia, less than 24 hours later, a discreet military jet arrived with advanced electronic warfare gear. Russian-grade anti-drone systems were installed to guard resources. The message was clear. Burkina Faso would safeguard its sovereignty, no subcontracting required. Global fallout. The U.S. reaction was swift. Fox News called Traoré a madman. CNN warned of a dangerous new axis. Washington insiders railed about a dictator dancing with Russia and China. But Africans cheered. Ibrahim Traoré, the lion Africa cannot buy. We are all Burkina. Social media exploded. Creators turned CNN clips into protest music. Two shirts boasted, if CNN hates him, he must be doing something right. Time magazine ran a digital cover. The man America can't bully. Inside, Traoré's African uprising, nationalization and defiance, with the 24-hour deadline passed. The National Assembly acted under Traoré's direction. All oil and gold reserves are now national property. Foreign corporations must depart. By sunrise. French, Canadian, and UZ-backed firms had their operating licenses revoked. Diplomatic posts received a one-sentence memo. You are no longer welcome. Later, Traoré appeared on national broadcast, not in uniform nor suits, but in traditional Burkina attire. For generations we were exploited. Now, as sovereign beings, we own our wealth. I will not negotiate with thieves. Celebrations erupted, drums, dancing, crowds chanting. He said no. A continental stand. Washington fell silent for hours. Then, at 7:42 a.m. Eastern, Trump tweeted, Traoré just made the biggest mistake of his life. Africa will pay. Investors panicked. Cable news ran 24-hour coverage. But in Ouagadougou, Traoré reportedly grinned and remarked, that's the sound of an empire losing control. In retaliation, the U.S. repositioned ships near the Gulf of Guinea. Regional tensions spiked. But allies swung into action. Mali moved armored units cross-border. Nigeria tested regional radar systems. Guinea launched a rapid response treaty. Any attack on Burkina triggers immediate cooperation, mass mobilization across Africa. People rallied. Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Senegal. Thousands protested outside U.S. embassies. Signs read, Touch Traoré, touch us all. Art and protest songs celebrated defiance. Traoré's message went viral. A 43-second video captured this moment. This is not about oil. It's about Africa's soul. I would rather die standing than live kneeling. It garnered over 12 million views within hours. Former African heads of state praised him as a visionary. A new chapter had begun. The Ligue Traoré had done what few thought possible. He rejected a U.S. ultimatum without retreat. Unified regional allies with AES Shield secured partnerships, with China and Russia nationalized resources on. Lawful grounds lit, a movement that challenged Western hegemony. He didn't bow. He built. He didn't just resist, he led. And in doing so, he offered a blueprint for resource sovereignty across Africa. Epilogue: as the sun rose over Ouagadougou, Traoré stood not just as president, but as a symbol of a rising Africa that controls its own destiny, one that commands respect on its own terms, one that refuses to be purchased or silenced. Africa watched, and the world watched with it.